Hi, this is David from Ash IT. Now, having recently reviewed the M15R6, I wanted to make this video comparing it to the flagship Alienware X17 to see what you're going to be sacrificing for the £500 difference between the two models. We decided against comparing it to the X15 as that model prioritises thinner lights factors over the gaming performance. And if you follow this channel, you'll know that we've had all of this year's Alienware models through the office, and I enjoyed the X17 so much that I actually bought one for myself. But what if you cannot afford the X17? Should you consider the entry-level Alienware range as a cost-efficient substitute? So let's take a look at the design of each of these laptops first. You can see that both of these have the same Alienware Epic styling, with the R6 only coming in dark side of the moon. But the X17 has a lunar light outer shell, but with a dark side of the moon inner. There's absolutely no other colour choices this year. Both these laptops feel solid, but there is a chassis and keyboard flexing on the M15 R6 and a little less polished than there is on the X17. This alone wouldn't be enough to put me off the M15 R6, but it's still a great feeling laptop. Weights-wise, being a 15-inch, the M15R6 is obviously going to be lighter at 2.46 kg, but despite being a 17-inch, the X17 is actually a very svelte gaming laptop at only 3.02 kg. Now let's put these side by side and look at the height difference and the size difference. Side by side, at the rear of the laptop, the M15R6 is just slightly higher than the X17, but at the front where it tapers off, the actual M15R6 is actually slimmer. But both of these laptops are pretty slim gaming laptops. Popping the M15R6 on top of the X17, you can obviously see the difference between the 15-inch chassis and the 17-inch. Quite a bit of difference, even though this is quite a small 17-inch laptop. Now when it comes to ports, this is an area where I actually prefer the M15R6. When I reviewed the X17, one of the biggest gripes I had with the laptop is all the ports except the power port are at the back of the laptop. This makes no sense to me. I'd rather have the power port at the back and at least one USB on the side. Now this is where the M15R6 gets it right. The power port is at the back of the machine along with a few of the lesser used ports such as an HDMI or a Thunderbolt and the one USB 3. But on the left side we've got an RJ45 and on the right side we get two USB 3 ports. Moving on to the RGB of the laptops, both have the Tron ring light and the lit Alienware head on the back of the laptop, but the X series has a much more vibrant Tron ring that can also display multiple colours at once. And inside, although the power button is the same, the X series gets per key RGB, whereas the M15R6 gets zoned RGB unless you upgrade to the mechanical keyboard. So now that we've opened both these laptops, I want to mention the hinges. The X17 is much smoother than the M15R6. And although both feel solid with minimal wobble, the X17 has a more sturdy feel on the hinge, and that's probably necessary being a 17-inch laptop. Now the trackpads on both of these machines are very good. You can see on the X17, this being the 38 model, we've got the RGB trackpads, which you don't get on the M15R6. And also the X17 has a slightly larger trackpad, but they're both very responsive, the gestures work well, they're both solid feeling, there's no rattle or play, and I think you'd be equally happy with either of these laptops. When it comes to the keyboard, other than the lighting which I mentioned a minute ago, they've both got exactly the same keyboard installed on these laptops, and both can be upstored to the Cherry MX mechanical keyboard. We have done a review on that and I will put the links down in the description below if you wish to see it. Now all of this year's laptops have this same keyboard layout, and this is one of the gripes I've had in the reviews of both of these machines. The one thing I don't like is that no longer are the secondary symbols backlit. And that's the same on both these, whether you get the per key lighting or just the standard lighting. None of the function symbols or the secondary symbols are lit, and that is a real shame. Also, the cursor keys are integrated into the keyboard, pushing the shift along, so that can cause a few typos until you get used to the keyboard. Having used the X17 quite extensively over the last couple of months, I've totally got used to it, and I still love the typing feel on both these keyboards. They are incredible gaming keyboards to type on. This is one of the reasons I always gravitate to an Alienware laptop. Moving up to the screen, we have a few differences in this area. On both of the base models, you get the 165Hz 1080p, and both of these panels are great. So Dell haven't skimped and saved any money on this area. So I've got both of the base panels here, and they are both great to game on and both great just for viewing content on. But both can be configured with a high DPI screen at quite an expensive upcharge. Now the 15-inch gets the QHD panel, and that is a great panel. We tested that on the M15R5, whereas the X17 gets a 4K panel. And if you are considering buying one of these laptops for work as well as play, then definitely consider the sort of the high DPI model because the screen quality on those is fantastic. As we look above the screen on both of these models, you can see that we've got the webcam and the microphones, and they sound like this. So this is the webcam and the microphones on the Alienware M15R6 laptop. So this is the webcam and the microphones on the new Alienware X17 laptop. But as you look across on the X17, you'll notice there's obviously quite a long dark bar, and the reason for that is that all the models on the X17 have Windows Hello facial recognition, and I absolutely love Windows Hello. It's such a great way to log into the machine. You pop the lid open and you're straight in. Now the only way to get the Windows Hello on the actual M15R5 or R6 is to actually upgrade it to the QHD screen. So comparing the speakers of both of these laptops, firstly just want to note that we are in the Alienware audio profile on both machines, and we're going to run some royalty-free music on YouTube at 30% to start with. So here is the M15 R6. Moving to the X17. Now 50%. So hopefully that's as clear for you as it is for us over in the office, but the X17 has much better sounding speakers than the M15R6. Neither are going to blow you away. These are gaming laptops, not a MacBook Pro 16, but the X17 is definitely much better. So to complete the walk around of these models, we're going to just quickly test the speakers between the two. Now both these have downward firing speakers, so these here are actual air intakes on the X17. Don't think that is actually upward firing speakers, but they sound like this. Now before we get into the performance, let's open both of these up and look at the internals. Both these laptops are very easy to get into. As you open the screws, the last couple at the bottom pop the panel and you can just pry them up, which is nice and easy. And once we're inside, both of these laptops are very upgradable. They've both got 2 RAM slots, which can be upgraded, and 2 Gen 4 SSD slots. But what really sets these two machines apart is the cooling system. And this is where Dell have saved some money on the M15R6 by giving it a standard heat pipe with 2 fans. The X17, on the other hand, has the Element 31 thermal compound, 4 fans and a vapour chamber, making it a very solid cooling solution on this laptop and something I've absolutely loved about it. So now let's have a look at the performance and see how much of a difference that makes. So to see how these laptops with the same specs compare, we ran a few benchmarks and games, and to make this test as fair as possible, we completed it with the default high density RAM installed and the Optimus was on as it comes out of the box. Looking at Cinebench R20 or Geekbench 5, you can see that both laptop scores are very close, and in some tests the M15R6 actually wins. That is because these are very short benchmarks. When putting a longer strain on the CPU like Cinebench R23, you can see the X17 pull ahead by 30% as the CPU can maintain maximum clocks. The M15R6 cooling system just gets overwhelmed and starts to throttle the clocks back. Moving on to the TimeSpy and the Firestrike benchmarks, you can see that the X17 stays ahead due to the better thermals and an extra 10 watt TGP on the 3070. Running Assassin's Creed side by side, you can clearly see the differences in the thermal system. The X17 runs so much cooler than the M15R6, also allowing the X17 to maintain the higher clock speeds. But this doesn't mean that the M15R6 is a bad option. When we played Apex on both machines, although the X17 remains a lot cooler, the M15R6 still managed to game at a very similar frame rate, albeit much hotter. This heat also translates into the external temperatures, where the X17 maintains excellent palm rest and keyboard temperatures, even under the longest gaming sessions. The M15R6, on the other hand, got a lot hotter to the point where the keyboard started to give me sweaty palms. Now, fan noise was almost identical between the two units at about 50 decibels on gaming load. Although this is pretty loud, it is very normal for a gaming laptop, and neither had an unpleasant fan noise, just a whoosh of air. Battery life between the two laptops is almost the same, with both laptops getting just over 5 hours in our YouTube Wi-Fi streaming tests at 50% brightness. Now I bought the X17 for myself, but I'm not going to let that sway the conclusion here, as for the same specification M15R6 costs £500 less in the UK than the X17. Now if money was no option, I would recommend the X17 every time. It's been one of my favourite gaming laptops that I've tested this year. But as mentioned earlier, not everyone can afford its eye-watering price tag. So is it worth saving the £500 to get the R6? Well, I can definitely say it's a solid gaming laptop. It has a great array of ports, decent build and screen quality, and has plenty of configuration options to suit your needs. My biggest concern here is the price Dell is selling this laptop for. There is a lot of solid competition in this price range, but as always with Dell, you never pay list price, And if you can get a good discount code, you're going to get a solid all-round package, just not the best machine Alienware has to offer. So let me know what you think. Is it worth saving the money and picking up the R6, or should you just sell a kidney and buy the X17? Or just look elsewhere for a better priced alternative? Thanks for watching.